What is going on, guys? Welcome into episode 185 of the Scope. You guys should be impressed that I remembered the number. I was rehearsing it in front of the mirror and I nailed it. So, welcome in, guys. We got a special episode for you guys today. As you can probably tell, if you're watching the visual version, the immersive visual experience over on YouTube, you'll notice that my normal co hosts are not available today, but we have a very special guest. I'm joined by Embark content creator, Rockhound Black. What's up, man?
Hey, g'day. Thanks so much for having me, Crash. It's a pleasure to be back, actually, and on camera this time. It's been a while. So
That's right. You've come a long way,
I
as
have
they
come
say.
a long way. Yeah,
No, it's
exactly. Yes.
great to have you back, man. After we if you guys don't know, this is Rockhound's second appearance on the Scope. Last time we talked about when the finals was coming up, because this man is the expert, the go-to source for Embark games. So he goes into the lore, into the Easter eggs, everything you want to know about the game. If you want to be in the know on your favorite Embark titles, this is the man to follow. So I thought it would be a great time to have you back. As you guys know, the Arc Raiders Server Slam playtest just got over with this past weekend, and we're gonna break it down. And we were chatting a little bit beforehand. I think we're gonna have some pretty interesting conversations about that stuff. But before we get too crazy into it, where can people find your stuff to let people know?
Yeah. So my main content creation place is on YouTube. So if you just search for Rockhound Black, all one word, you'll find me there. I also stream on Twitch from time to time, and we'll be doing that more frequently going into the future once Arc Raiders releases. But yeah, YouTube is the main place to find me.
Gotcha. That stuff will all be linked in the description of this video, as well as all the show notes and stuff. It'll be the top person's link, so you guys can check out his stuff, because we very much appreciate his time and stuff. Man, do we recap some of the stuff about get to know you kind of things, or do we just get back
I can
into
give you
Arc Raiders?
give you the quick elevator pitch or something like that if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like.
yeah. Let's do
Yeah,
a quick recap. What's some of
yeah.
your gaming history? How'd you get into
So
this crazy world?
how did I get into gaming? Well, maybe you can tell from the grey here. I have been gaming since the 1980s, and started playing shooters in the 1990s. The main one that I really got into was Battlefield 1942, and that was kind of a path down playing a lot of Battlefield. Then skip forward to 2018, started up my own YouTube channel, followed a couple of different games that didn't really eventuate. And then in 2019, saw that Embark had become a company and were a studio and working on a game with a big open landscape that looked amazing. So I was like, oh, these guys look pretty cool, and realized they were a lot of the Battlefield developers, um, and sort of just followed them since then. So been following Embark since 2019.
Yeah, I think Embark got a really good, like, just base like a fan base right off the bat by touting that
Yeah,
Battlefield resume, because
absolutely.
those titles that came after those folks left weren't as compelling as some of the previous titles, and people wondered why. And then kind of digging into it, you found that a lot of the talent left and made this new studio. So yeah, as someone who started out covering Battlefield as well, we were very interested to see what Embark was up to. Are you what platform are you primarily on? Do you PC it, or are you console,
Yeah,
or
I'm PC only. Yeah, I don't even own a console actually. So
my man? Yeah, we're gonna get
put
along
a control
nicely.
put a controller in my hand, and I struggle.
Yeah. I did the thing where I started out on controller and stuff, and I got into gaming like pretty late in my life, like really not that long ago. And then I played on controller for several years and then switched to mouse and keyboard. And now if I hold a controller, like, what the heck are you supposed to do with this thing? It's horrific. Unless I play Call of Duty, because that game aims for you, but just kidding. I had to take a COD dig anytime I can get them. I take those. Um, but yeah, so going into Embark Studios and everything that they've done with the finals, was that title came out, that's the first one you really covered. Where is, just really quickly before we get into the meat and potatoes of Arc Raiders, where is the finals right now in your opinion? Is it really kind of taking a back seat now, do you think, both in the public eye and like maybe even like development bandwidth to Arc Raiders? Think the finals?
No, I don't think so. They've got very separate teams at the studio. So of I guess it's around 280 to 300, something like that, all up in total at Embark Studios. And there's probably about 100 that are working on the finals consistently. I think the Arc Raiders team is apparently even smaller. I've heard they're actually core teams probably like 60 to 70, which is astonishing given
Yeah, it is.
what the game looks like. Yeah, and then they probably have a bunch of people that just jump back and forwards. Like their media team to make trailers could do trailers for both and so on. So
That makes sense. I wonder if
yeah.
so that's probably why that, if you guys don't know, Arc Raiders was originally going to be PvE, and they took a step back and said they're going to delay it and turn it into PvP, and that's probably why that took a while, because that's a fairly small team in my opinion for a game of this scope. It seems.
Yeah, and I think that originally it was going to be PvE with some PvP in it. So it was never going to be strictly PvE only, but they just flipped around the focus for it.
Okay.
And they decided that, I think around the end of 2022, they decided that the PvE focused game just wasn't that much fun, is pretty much their words. And then at the same time, the finals was kind of coming through in its development program a lot faster than they anticipated. So they just decided to swap the order that they released the games, put more focus on the finals for a while, and while they sorted out what they wanted to do with Arc Raiders.
Yeah, we were all like, I'm trying to think back. My timeline of gaming like goes with this show. I think about what we were talking about and kind of our opinions and things as things actually coalesce and come out. And I think whenever they pulled it back, we're like, oh man, I don't know about switching directions this late in the development cycle. I remember like
Yeah.
we're like, that doesn't feel good. But it's like, man, people loved it, man. I think the server slam this last weekend was really successful, and they had a ton of hype this summer. After that beta test, people were very excited on the game. So it's cool to
Yeah.
see. I guess I would say that was a little bit of risk taking. It's cool to see that pay off in a good way, because we could always use more good shooters, in my opinion.
I would say, given the size of the studio, that the real major response where a lot of people took notice, and you had people talking about Game of the Year and that kind of thing, that came from Tech Test 2 back earlier on this year. And I would say the Embark team were probably shocked at how much the popularity just skyrocketed at that point. And for a small team, what more could you ask for than have a big, be fifth on the most wish listed under Steam games? It's astonishing, really.
Yeah, it is. I can't imagine being in their shoes and then just like scrolling Twitter and seeing how many people are like playing it, excited about it, and that has to feel pretty good after taking those chances. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's also, on the other hand, it's not that crazy that people are enjoying it, because it's like it's unique, and it's like something different in a popular genre, but it's a new take on it, and it's taking it in a new and different direction.
Mhm.
And it's not really like anything else that's out there. So
Yeah.
it's not crazy surprising that it's pretty hyped up. Do you think, and this is something that we talked about, we were hoping for a shadow drop late summer while there wasn't any
Yeah.
competition or anything like that. What I'm very interested to hear your opinion on that. A lot of people thought
Yeah.
they should have released off of that tech test too,
Yeah.
with all the
Yeah.
hype, and it's a little bit more crowded now this time of year with some other titles.
Yeah, given the things that they've said they're putting into the game for release, like they're adding this new voluntary wipe system, and like just things like a codex for the lore hounds like myself and so on. I suspect they just weren't ready. So they gave what we got at Tech Test 2 was a very polished version of the game, but behind the scenes they just wouldn't have had other stuff to add on to it to put it out for release. So as much as people loved it, I think if they'd actually just tried to release it then, people would have gone, "Oh, it's actually lacking a few things that would make it a really great game." So
So it sounds like your understanding of it, or how it was like the tech test 2 was like the base game loop, and they had that nailed down,
yeah,
and you're saying
yeah,
they needed that extra time to add in the
yeah, making
polish
sure the
and
balancing was right, that the weapons were about where they thought they would be, that the arc enemies were about as difficult as they wanted them to be. Just checking all those core pillars of the game, I think, for them. And then there would have been things like the UI and those other things I mentioned before that they were like, okay, well, we can complete these in the time we have between whatever it was May and when they plan to release, which we didn't know at the time, right?
Right.
So yeah, they would have known it was going to be sometime around that October mark or end of October.
Yeah. We've seen it's a tale as old as time when a game releases too early. The first impressions are really big, and sometimes you never get those people back. If it's not a great launch. Because
Yeah.
yeah, this time of year, like I said, Battlefield's out and about. Um, you have Call of Duty coming pretty soon, and then Arc Raiders, and it's really a great time to be a shooter enjoyer. And I would argue that Arena Breakout Infinite is up there as well. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. I've been pretty impressed with its Steam numbers because it's been holding around 50,000 players um on Steam and mostly positive on Steam. Yeah, I was
And
interested.
what size is that studio that's
Man,
made
I don't know. It's More Fun Studios, and they're a subsidiary of Tencent. So
right?
I mean, almost everybody's a subsidiary of Tencent these days. It feels like on a lot of those shooters. But I'm not sure how big the studio is. That's interesting. I'm interested though. I should look that up. But yeah, they seem to be doing well with content. I'll get into it a little bit later, but there's like a Halloween event coming up and a new big map that's not on mobile, so an exclusive map that's coming. And every single season, they add quality of life stuff to where you're like 3 clicks away from getting in another raid, fully kitted and ready to go. Um, it's pretty good. So it's it's pretty cool. But so as far as the Arc Raiders, the server slam went off pretty well without a hitch. I saw a few issues here and there, but I think
Mhm.
um from your end, I know you're in a different region in New Zealand. If you couldn't tell from the accent, it's a little different than mine. Um how
Slightly.
are the servers over there? Because over here, I think they held up just fine for the most part. Did it run
Yeah,
pretty
they were.
well?
Mostly, I was playing on North America just because a lot of my buddies that I play with when I squad up in North America. But on Monday morning, my time, I jumped in with Frosty, who lives in Australia, and we got a game straight away, and it was great. Like there was hardly any wait. It was like I don't know, a minute and a half or something like that, really quick. Which for a Monday morning, weekday is pretty good for Oceania. So I think they went pretty well. I think the tech test too, if we go back to that, was like there were a lot of people that really wanted to play the game that were getting into that. So the difference being if you jump to the service slam, they were kind of just opening the door and letting everyone in. And I'm sure a lot of people played that were just like, oh, I haven't even heard of this game. Here's a free opportunity to play it. Let's just dive in and see what it's like. And so I think you're almost guaranteed to have a different response from the audience anyway when you open the doors like that completely. So some of those mixed responses will come from that. But I think some of the mixed responses came from some of the things that were in the game, and they've kind of responded to some of those comments as well, I think.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I'll pull up that their kind of blog, their rebuttal and key takeaways from things, and then we'll get opinions on it, and then we'll get into we'll get into my personal opinions. And I think you guys will want to stay tuned from that because like just a little bit of teaser and spoiler alert. Please don't hate me and like don't get mad at me on my Twitter or whatever. But I didn't really enjoy it. So don't take that to mean that I think it's a bad game. That's not the case by any means. I very much respect the game and I am impressed by the game, but for me and like what I enjoy in a video game, I didn't have fun. So I think that's why I was really looking forward to talking to Rockhound, and
Mm.
maybe he can help me get to the bottom of why I am the way that I am, and then you guys don't have to hate me.
I
um
think, I think, in fact, before we get there, in some
sure.
ways, it might be getting to the bottom of why Embark are the way they are as well. But we can come to that in a moment.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. It'll be good stuff. Some of the key takeaways that they mentioned, that's really good. They found some stability issues. Again, I didn't see much of an issue on my end. I played for a few hours before I didn't want to play anymore. Um but I just was impressed. And just like I was in the tech test 2 and 1, at just how well they make Unreal 5 engine run. I can't think of a studio that does better in a multiplayer setting with Unreal Engine 5. Like they they have that engine working as it should. Um and a lot of studios don't. Um
Yeah, and I would say the same. Like just recently in the last couple of months upgraded to a 5080 GPU, and on epic settings right across the board, I was getting easily well over 100 frames per second, which for a game like Arc Raiders is absolutely fine.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
I
think
was pretty impressed with the performance.
yeah, me too. I think I have a 4090, so the last gen, but like the flagship 4090, and I was similar. I was around 120 frames, and I had everything maxed out at 1440p, and it was smooth. The other thing about it, I think in those cases, frame rate's great, but also the stability of your frames is important. So like if like an explosion happens, or if an arc
Mm.
blows up and the explosion and effects make it plummet, and or you get into a gunfight and your frame rate drops,
Yeah.
that can suck. But it was stable. Like it was a stable 120 frames.
Yeah,
Even when a lot was going on.
and I think something to keep in mind is, and a lot of people might not realize this, is that my impression is that Embark Studios put in a huge amount of work in those first couple of years when they were developing, of building their own tools that they would kind of bolt on to Unreal Engine to help with that side of things. And so, people talk a lot about Unreal Engine maybe being problematic sometimes and so on, but I think Embark have done a great job adding things to it to make sure that they get pretty good results.
Yeah, they did something because it ran pretty well. And along the lines, I guess it kind of ties into the next thing where they're talking about balancing the flying arc.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to remember back early on when like Embark first started, didn't they use some kind of like machine learning or procedural effects to teach the arc like how to walk and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's basically they sort of used AI machine learning. I mean, I'm not an expert by any means on any of this, but um, they they used it to teach each arc how to behave in its own entity. So it
Yeah.
didn't just sort of follow set flying paths or anything like that. It kind of developed its own behavior that would fulfill the role it was meant to fulfill. So like there's a ground-based arc called the Leaper. It used to be called the Bison, which is basically like a spider and it jumps around as well, rocket-powered jumps. And those movements, when you face it, those movements are at times frightening. How it can like land right next to you from a long way away, and then move through like areas underneath a building and try and climb in with you. It's almost like it definitely has a mind of its own. So
Yeah, that's
um,
one of the things that always scares me whenever you have a game with that when it's PvE I worry about the E not being like engaging or very well done, and it can be pretty pretty game breaking, or at least break like your immersion, like if the AI is not well. And I just had remembered that because like I would shoot like some of the spider ones, like you shoot a leg off and like it almost like figures out how to walk without a leg and stuff. Like it's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah, yeah. It keeps going. They have one thing in mind, and that's to try and hunt you down and yeah, knock a leg off, and it'll still behave, but in a different way. Hobbled around.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think that was a problem during Service Slam is, especially the flying arcs. They've talked about that in that post that you've got up, is that their awareness, especially through like forest and that sort of thing, they were shooting like the Rocketeer would shoot rockets through a number of trees and still hit you on target when you couldn't
Yeah.
even really see it that well. So yeah, I think there was a fair criticism, and it was certainly something that we didn't see in Tech Test 2. And I think a lot of people assumed that Embark had just turned up the volume knob to 11 uh, for the arc, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it just needed a bit of tweaking at their end.
Agreed. And then one of their main takeaways too was the arc was well. Before we move on, that's another thing I saw. A lot of people were saying that the arc, the AI was way too hard to fight. It made it not fun. And they're going to tune down the flying, the area of effect or the awareness where they'll pick you up with the flying arc. But what did you think of that? I have my own opinion on that. But what do you think of people, or what's your take on people saying that it was too difficult?
I think it kind of falls on two sides. One, I think some things like I just talked about, the firing the rockets through trees when you couldn't really see it. I think that was definitely OP for the Arc. But I also think that they've ramped up the difficulty a little bit, and what that means is really good because it actually makes the decisions that you have to make around PvP and PvE difficult. So you have to start thinking, okay, if we engage with the squads over here and these flying arca nearby, how is this going to pan out for us? Is this actually a good idea or not? And it starts to get in a real gray zone where you start making wrong decisions from time to time and get your ass kicked as a result, right? And I think that's really good for the game. And I think having the arc slightly harder is a good thing. But I'm sure there's a group of people that want a more casual aspect to it.
Yeah, and I think there's two different kind of paradigms to look at AI in games like this, in my opinion. Arena Breakout chose to do it the opposite way. That game is really focused around PvP, and you're almost never gonna die to an AI enemy. They're really bad, but they will get you killed because you'll be in a gunfight trying to move and listen to where the other person is, and one of the AI will walk up to you and man, it's like, man, I have to shoot this one, and you shoot it, and then the enemy player knows where you're at, and then you can get into the fight before you're ready to. So like, there's that
Yeah.
way to look at it, or like how Arc Raiders is looking at it, where the AI will kill you. Like if you get in the wrong position, or if you aggro too many of them, or you're not equipped to handle the certain ones you run across. So I
Yeah.
think both are viable, but because yeah,
And
in ABI, like they're really dumb and they can't shoot, but
right.
will get you killed because you have to reveal your location to deal with them. So it's sometimes you'll try to
Yeah.
run away from them and hide from them, and it's a just a different way to look at it. I think that I noticed.
And I think Embark as a whole, actually, if you look at both of their games, right? So the finals, a lot of the modes in that game have the potential for three teams to encounter each other at the same time, right? So you end up with this third partying situation going on quite frequently. And that can frustrate a lot of people, but it also gives the game a real unique sort of edge that a lot of games don't have. And in some ways, they've almost gone, oh, what if we actually sort of apply that to Arc Raiders? And so we've got two squads, but the third party is now the PvE,
I didn't
right?
think of that. Yeah.
And, right. And so it's almost the same sort of triangle going on. Um, and you've got to start thinking of different ways around how to take on that combat for either of them, and whether you just want to back away or take on one at a time, or how you're going to do it. It becomes much more a thinking man's or thinking person's game in some ways.
Yeah. Yep. It's a cool, just a different way of balancing things, and I think both are viable.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess the only thing I would say that maybe could take down the fun factor is it feels, even though they're difficult, it feels super lame. Like when you die to the bot, because you're like, I died to
You
a
feel like
AI,
you
but
shouldn't have died to it, right?
yeah,
It's like you feel bad because you feel like you should always have enough skill to overcome the PvE, right?
yeah. I always said that when AI is like too strong, it's like when you get into an engagement with an AI, the two outcomes are either you kill it and you're like, yeah, that should have happened, or you
Yeah.
don't and you're really frustrated that you shouldn't have died to an AI. And then like either way, you're not that thrilled about AI. So that's kind of why I like ABI's approach, to where they're not going to kill you and frustrate you, but they can get you killed. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and I think if you would apply a meme to it, the Ron Burgundy "that escalated quickly" situation happens a
oh
lot,
yeah.
right? Right, it goes from being, oh, we're just taking on, like one raider, and then suddenly a whole bunch of arc turn up, and everything gets messy very fast.
Hmm.
And I think that gives the game a uniqueness. I think, but likewise, it can be super frustrating if it doesn't pan out when you thought you were on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but that's I think that's one of the pluses though, in my opinion, is just like you talked about, how the game can go from 0 to 100 just instantly is cool. Because even when the game is like chill and you're moving around the map, you still have that in the back of your mind, like any minute this can turn crazy.
Hmm. Yep.
And then when you come out on top of those, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so the other thing I guess they were balancing, I didn't really get much time on this, is the dam tower was too easy to get to for high tier
Yes.
loot, sounds like.
Yes, yeah. So there was a locked room in there that you could actually cheese your way into. I think most people did it by jumping off the roof and catching the ledge below, and if you missed the ledge, you fell and got knocked out. So there was an element of high risk, but
Little
a
risk
lot of
there.
people could do it. So, and I think that was happening way more often than perhaps Embark liked the idea of, even if they thought, oh, we might let it go for a while. So, yeah, we haven't got any pictures of what it looks like now. So I don't know, what they've actually done to change that. Maybe they've just made the roof stick out further so that you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then they said some people will notice a visual difference between the server slam and earlier tests on certain hardware. They said the default setting did change a bit to favor more performance, and they're looking into tuning further to strike the right balance. So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that just
And I
comes with time.
And I think the complaints I saw were generally people, you could put myself in the same category, who can run everything at Epic and felt like they weren't getting what they used to get at like Tech Test 2. The same visual. And the game is very beautiful. If you take all the enemies out of it and had it as a walking simulator, it's the maps are very nice to look at. And so I hope that they do move back a little bit the other way. I think that's a really fair call. It needs to allow performance for people who have low end systems, but at the same time, those of us who can really light it up and have it on Epic, it's nice to be able to see everything looking good as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'm sure that'll be something that'll be worked on going forward. Probably even with post launch patches. Is always seems like you always hear stuff at the bottom of patch notes about optimization. So
Hmm.
I'm guessing they'll keep going on that. The other folks, man, I guess we could just get into. You want to get into me?
Yeah,
Really
yeah. Let's
dive
get into
into.
you. Yeah, let me sit back on my chaise lounge and start taking notes.
Oh man,
So
I just
you're trying to.
I didn't have fun, and I really want to iterate again. It's not the game's fault. Every game is not for every person, right? Like it's not ever going to make everyone happy.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have fun, and I think I almost had like a little bit of preconceived like a notion that I wasn't going to enjoy third person combat. And I really didn't. And it might have just been like luck, and this doesn't happen very often. But in my second raid, I was going into a building, one of the scrapyard areas, and there was a hallway. And I heard people in the other end of the hallway. So I did the
Hmm.
thing where I put my face on the wall and had the camera looking down the hallway and was
Yep.
just waiting. And I was like, well, maybe they're not in there. I thought I heard somebody. And then I take a step out into the hallway, and that person was doing the same thing, waiting for me to take a step out of the
Yeah.
hallway. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's how third person goes. So that happened. And then with some of I got into some of the fights outside with, I don't remember what the single shot was called.
The Pharaoh,
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah, yeah.
thinking of. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So I had that. And usually like give me that in like an FPS game, and like where I just need to hit a headshot, and like I got a chance. Like
Yeah.
I can like bear down and take a second, get that headshot. But with the
Uh-huh.
way that reticle was, like it wasn't precise. Like it was like a three,
Uh-huh.
it was like on the middle of my screen, it was like a three
Yep.
blind
Like a
crosshair missing the top
T-bar or
one.
whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it just wasn't a very precise crosshair. Like there
Uh-huh.
wasn't a
Uh-huh.
point on it. And that's how the game's balanced, right? Like that's how it is.
Yep.
But like I was just finding myself very frustrated for the lack
Yeah.
of precision in fights like
Yeah.
that. And I had a couple of just the third person moments where people were just like waiting for the other person to move. And that's where, to kind of argue with myself a little bit, that's why I think the arc needs to be strong, because if people are just sitting there waiting and looking over that, like the arc is going to come by and make you move. So
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
good for that. But I
And
just might really not like third person combat.
that what you just commented on actually is something that I gave feedback in a survey, which is I felt like when you're in the buildings, there's arc that roll around and there's mounted turrets and so on. But if you clear them out, there's no sort of roaming arc that just move around the building like a security guard kind of feel to it. And I think it would be helpful to have something like that, which you know can turn up in not just let you camp in a situation where you're standing behind a wall waiting for someone because you know they're going to come down there. I think that's a fair call. I think that game probably lacks an archetype that helps to move people on a little more often.
Yeah, I would agree. And then
Yeah.
I saw you had a video like people keep clamoring for first person mode, but like that's not happening, right? Like they've
It's not
squashed
happening.
that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. They've just said so. That was during Clean stream in Tech Test 2, he had Virgil Watkins, the game's design director, playing with him for a few hours. And the subject came up, and Virgil just said, look, to move from third person to first person, it's not just a case of moving the camera into the character's head. You've actually got to change the entire visual fidelity of the game, because you're now much closer to things when you're looking at them.
Oh yeah,
Right.
interesting.
So instead of being like 3 yards or whatever, or meters away behind, you're now this far from the object, right? So
Right.
it's at this stage, it's just not going to happen. I mean, maybe Arc Raiders 2 might have the option, but yeah.
Are, are we
Right.
leaking it already? We're leaking Arc Raiders 2 already?
Yeah, we're not leaking it. We're making it up.
All right, all right. I like to do that on the show. That's one of the best parts about having a podcast. You can make stuff up all the time. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
It's a fun time.
Yeah.
And then, man, I really feel like a moron. The other thing that I felt like it felt like a generic off-brand Star Wars. And I had a hard time getting immersed. And I think,
Mhm.
and I could just have a simple brain, because their world building is great. The art style is really cool. I don't know, you guys probably do remember the first trailer with the song from Robin. I love that song, and like I was locked in. Like it was really cool. But then actually playing it, it feels kind of like a Star Wars spinoff. And then the guns like look to me like you just got a bunch of parts from the hardware store and cobbled them together, which I guess that's kind of what the world is, right? But I think
Yeah.
for me, I'm aware of my real world bias to where it's easier for me to get into like military modern shooters, because I shoot a lot of these guns in real life. So it's easy for me to
Yeah.
put
You
my
can relate to
headspace
it,
there
right? Yeah, for sure.
and get into the game. So I had a little bit of a hard time with that, but it's not for the lack of world building. It's also not for the lack of graphics, and the audio was awesome too. So that's just one of the things where I think if I strip away that word salad that I just put out there, I prefer like modern real world setting games.
Yeah, and in Arc Raiders, there is only one weapon that has a scoped sight, right, which was the Osprey. I think that's right. And so that gives you a sort of that first person perspective, but it's one weapon out of the entire suite of them, right?
Yeah.
So you're just not going to get that. And probably to kind of get to the crunch of this conversation, which is, I think what Embark have done is they have positioned themselves in the market super well, because firstly, the game is very accessible. It feels like most people can play it, right? Number two, it's on console, and so the
Yeah.
only other extraction shooter at the time when it was sort of coming in was Hunt Showdown, and they're so different; they're not even really in competition with one another.
Right.
So I think what they've realized is they're actually going to get a lot of people interested in the game, and there's going to be a bunch of people who fall off the sides because that doesn't fulfill the things that you're looking for, which is that kind of maybe Tarkov or Arena Breakout kind of feel, where you actually feel like you're picking up a real gun, and they're just not looking to fulfill that. They actually want to make a extraction shooter that casual gamers can jump into and enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's probably what it comes down to, really.
And I think along those lines, as well, it made me a little bit annoyed at the UI in a way, and I'll get into why that is, because I think I got spoiled with Arena Breakout, and also the loot. So like in Arena Breakout, it's kind of based on like our timeline. So like I see a golden statue, oh that's good, or I see some like a real world item, like some ammo, or even I'm trying to think of something like an RFID card reader or something that's like electronic. I can instantly equate that with the real world thing and think that's valuable, I need to keep
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
like they just in the most recent Arena Breakout season, they added crafting. So then I can go out and I can say, oh, metal and gunpowder, that's how I make ammo. Like I know instantly by looking at it that that's valuable, or that's that I need it. And I can also, and this might be in Arc Raiders, I'm not sure, but what you can also do in ABI is you can wish list items. So if you want to craft something, you can add them to your wish list, and then it'll show you in game like a little star on there. Is that in Arc Raiders?
yeah,
Did I
yeah.
miss?
You can track resources, including that,
Okay,
yeah, as
cool.
well. So yeah, you can definitely
That's
do
huge.
that. Yeah. Well, I think one of the things, and this is where one of the things that Server Slam actually let a lot of people down, I suspect, is that the crafting side of it was extremely hobbled. And I don't think they really needed to do that to sort of, if you look at what Server Slam was, apart from slamming their servers, it was actually a very thin slice of the game that they presented more or less as a demo of the game so people could kind of try it out and get a taste of it. The downside of that is that like they cut a few things off, and some of those things were fine, but I think not allowing people to get a real good sense of the crafting that was available at Tech Test 2. Those people coming in just thought, oh, this crafting isn't really like, it's not um, filled out enough. It felt like you can't do the things you were just describing. So I
Hmm.
think they made a bit of a mistake there. I think they should have left the crafting more open for people to try out. And I completely agree that there isn't that moment when you find whatever it is that you might have in Tarkov, where you find that item and you go, guys, we need to extract immediately. And if anyone shoots at another player, I will never play with you again because I
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
get this
yeah,
thing out of here, right?
yeah.
Right.
So,
Uh,
um,
and there's not enough of those items, or at least they need to be more obvious that it's a very rare item, and your whole tack for the game changes when you find it.
cool. Yeah, that was one of my questions is if they had that because like in ABI they have their red items. They kind of color code loot too, like they do in Arc Raiders as well. But the red
Yeah.
items are like coveted and hard to come by and worth a lot of money. And some of them are too big to fit in your secure container. So if you find one of those,
Mhm.
it's like, dude, everyone shut up. We're all we're all slow crouch walking and we're going
Yeah.
straight to the extract. I don't want to
Right,
hear it. Like,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly, yeah,
yeah,
and I think a lot of the items that aren't, if you find a pink, or a gold, weapon, whatever, I think it's pink is the one of the top colors, um, you can't put it in your safe pocket, so that's one of those items from a weapon side of it, but the other items that aren't really involved in crafting, so you might find, like a statue or a wine bottle or whatever it is, it's not very clear if it's valuable or not. You don't know if it's going to be worth 20,000 or $100. So I think they could flesh that part out a bit more.
yeah. I agree. And I did notice that though, exactly what you're saying. People were like, there's the crafting in this game sucks. And I was at first I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Because in Tech
yeah,
Test 2 it was awesome.
yep,
So
yep,
yeah, they
yeah. And for those people that just joined for the first time and played it for the first time during Service Slam, they got a very strange view of what crafting is in the game, and it's not what it's actually really like.
what's something or something or things that you think they should have had in this to give people a better impression of the game in the Server Slam? What would you
I
have
didn't
liked to
mind only
seen
having
unlocked?
one map. I think it was fine having one map. I think that was a good way to hobble the game, because then like, it's not about how many maps you get to see, because if one map's good, you go, okay, and they've got 4 or 5 others, well, they're probably going to be good as well. I think they should have allowed people to see how the processes of crafting work. That was really the big one for me. Leaving a few weapons out, I think that's fine as well. But people want to know they can spend time, if looting is in the game, they want to know they can go in and spend time looking for particular things, like you were saying, and have them on their wish list or tracked resources, and go, okay, I need to find 5 batteries, and I need to find a, a speaker from a computer, or those things, because I want to make this particular thing. And there was no real way to convey that part of the game by not allowing it to happen. So,
Right.
yeah, I think it did them a disservice chopping that part of crafting off.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I was just like, and and it may be because I didn't give it enough time, but I would go around and I would find like plastic parts and I'd be like, that seems like junk to me. Do I need that? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was
Well, they're
going
all
through
they're
that.
all useful, but
Yeah. And I was going through like,
uh,
do I sell all this
yeah,
stuff or can I craft anything? I was like, I don't see
yeah.
anything I can craft, but yeah. So
Yeah.
it
And
was,
so the difference being, like, in Tech Test 2 versus this, right? At the end of Service Slam, I had, like, I don't know, it was like $370,000 worth of stuff in my stash. And a lot of it was just crafting items that I couldn't use, right? But normally you would be using those to level up your workbenches in your workshop. And you would actually get through all those things a lot faster. So you would find that your stash wouldn't start to build up. And and then you'd be going, oh, okay, I've got these items that I can use to make this particular thing or that particular thing. Which one is more important to me? But those situations didn't really arise, because a lot of the time you couldn't even make the second thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah. That'll be interesting to see people's take on it when they see the full thing now. in a week, right? Like we're a week away. That's crazy.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's right. Just 1 week to launch.
Um, that's exciting. The other thing that I think I got spoiled on with ABI, and you can correct me if I miss this, or I would love to hear you say that it's coming to the game, is whenever I gear up in Arena Breakout, I hit a button and I can select from, I see everything I have in my stash that fits my helmet, armor, backpack, rig, gun. I see everything I have, or I can click a button if I want to build or buy a new one. And I can just click each spot on my
Uh,
person and
yeah,
equip my character and hit buy, and it fills
yeah,
that up. And then I click another button that says configure items. Whatever primary weapon I have, it shows all the mags and all the ammo types for that. I can click how many mags I want, how much ammo I want, pulls from my stash first, how many heals, consumables, grenades, all that I want. As I click
wow,
down, boom,
yeah,
buy it, put on my person at once. That's from scratch.
yeah,
Also, I have 4 presets, so I can build down to each attachment I want on a gun and save it as a preset. And I can literally one click
uh-huh,
buy everything I don't have, and I'm in the raid
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Is there anything
Uh,
like that planned? Because I
the, the,
love
the,
that.
the tiniest thing, which is that I think if you click on the gun mod part of the weapon, it'll show you which mods are available to just drag straight in to be able to do it. But I think all of those things are needed. I think they will probably come as quality of life. Well, I hope they come as quality of life improvements. Maybe at the end of whatever they consider their first season to be, or something like that. But that area, the UI and that kind of stuff, is probably the weakest part of the game for me at the moment. And I think there's room for improvement there for sure. Um, but Embark have shown through the finals. They went through a span of making a lot of maps for the game and adding in new weapons, and then in the last few seasons they've gone through a lot more quality of life stuff. So I think they'll get there, but it's
Yeah.
like you say, it's not there right now, and your observation is correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
game breaking, but it's like if they're asking for like feedback, that'd be one. And
yeah,
that would also
yeah,
be something I wouldn't be surprised if they had in
yeah.
seasons to come.
Yeah, and some of the UIs are difficult. I still find it difficult to navigate around, even in the service lane. It's like going into the traders and then back out to the workshop,
Hmm.
and back and forwards. And I think there needs to be an easier way to navigate around those spaces so you can move quickly between them. It's certainly not an option just to buy something if you don't have it without being in the trader. So you've actually got to, step out of that menu and back into another one, and then
Yeah.
go down to the correct trader and get it. So yeah, it's a bit clunky.
That's the nice part about ABIs. Like when you use that drop down thing to kit out your character super fast, it will just get the lowest price. So whether it's from the trader or the market, like it'll just automatically buy at the lowest price. So you don't have to go to
Right.
a different
And
screen or
and
anything. It's like
and
ultra
so just
fast.
a question, that side of things, was that in the game when it launched, or
No. So that came in. You're right. That came in the first season. So like it was
yeah,
weird because they launched like in beta on their own launcher, and then the season right before it came to Steam, which would have been season 2, they added all that stuff.
right.
And
Yeah.
I had my production team look up. That's a big studio. It's 1,600 employees at More Fun Studios. So
Wow. Okay.
a little more
Yeah,
bandwidth
1,600
probably.
versus 60 to 70 core developers. It's quite a
Yeah, so
difference,
there's
right?
probably
Yeah.
a few more devs.
Yeah.
And they're also ABI is also on UE4, so like really stable, really, you know,
Yeah.
pretty easy to run engine as
Right.
well. So
Yeah.
they're
I don't
able
I
to.
don't imagine that's such an issue for Embark, given the work they put in previously, but I think, like, it seems to me like the game is going to be successful just by the sheer number of amount of interest in it, right?
Mhm.
And so I would hope that once they've sort of got through that first launch period and get an idea of where they're sitting, they can go, okay, we can actually hire a bunch more people, so
Probably,
that all
yeah.
this quality of life stuff that everyone's asking for, we can almost maybe not give them a roadmap, but we can say, hey, it's on our radar, and we're expanding the team to try and bring those things to you. It would be awesome.
Yeah. I yeah, I'm excited for it because it's and I know I said I didn't have fun, and I kind of listed like I think the third person doesn't make me happy. I think the UI kind of turns me off, and I probably, well, I don't know, however many raids you can do in about 3 hours. I came out on the top end of some of fights and stuff, and I just really it didn't click for me. I don't know, because it's yeah,
Mm,
and I kind of don't know why. I guess it's just little
yeah,
things that add up, and I have better options, and that might be kind of what I was alluding to with the less crowded environment right now. Because I think if I want to play an extraction shooter, I'd rather I have a lot more fun and excitement, intense moments in Arena Breakout. And then if I want a multiplayer setting, I just hang out and chill on Battlefield 6 is awesome
yeah,
right now. Like I'm
yeah,
really
yeah,
enjoying Battlefield 6. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I
if
get it.
like it's me, not you kind of relationship problem, I guess.
And combined with what I sort of said before, which is that I think Embark know what their pillars are to make the game successful as a serious, casual, third-person extraction shooter, right? That's available on multiple platforms. And so, like, I think my buddy Demeister is in the chat, and so he's got almost 6,000 hours in Tarkov, right? And he loves Arc Raiders so far. And then there will be people who just a mirror of him, another person that's 6,000 hours in Tarkov, and play it for an hour and go, I don't even want to play this again. I just want to go back to Tarkov, right? Or Arena Breakout. And it is going to divide people that are on those fringes. But for Embark, if you think about it from a business point of view, there is a whole mass of people out there who have never had a game that presents to them an extraction shooter with PvE elements that's easily available for them, and they can play on console, right? So
Yeah.
they're
Arena
gonna they're gonna they're
breakouts.
gonna accept you going. You don't want to play because they've got 500 other people that
Yeah.
are happy. Right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's business, baby. That's how it works.
yeah.
I'm I am excited. Arena Breakout is supposed to be coming to console in the next year or so. So that'll be cool to
One
see.
thing, Crash, that I sort of relates to this is that during TwitchCon San Diego, Embark had a panel where they sort of sat down and chatted for an hour and answered some questions from the audience and so on. And Virgil Watkins, the game's design director, during that talked about how two things: one, that they have a 10-year time frame in mind for the game, so pretty ambitious. But
Mhm.
he said it's easy to see that during that time frame other modes might come forward that might actually change the game entirely and have it evolve into something else that everyone really likes that they haven't even thought of yet, or run side by side with it being an extraction shooter as well. So there might be things down the track that might bring some people like yourself who are kind of like, I don't think it's quite for me, that might eventually bring you back. I don't necessarily think that'll be a first person aspect, but um, there might be things that come later on that actually are worth people like yourself having a look at and going, oh, is this worth checking out again?
Yeah. I still I still will probably end up buying it. I might try to wait like a month or so if they have a sale, or maybe they have a holiday sale or something, or Steam sale.
Yeah,
But I'm always going to follow along with it. We'll have to have you as like our recurring Arc Raiders expert when they drop a new season.
yeah.
So you can fill everybody in,
Well, I
because I
think I
know.
think we should. It would be good to reflect on this conversation again, right? Almost like go back and watch the video again of us
Yeah.
chatting about it, and then in 6 months or a year's time, going, where is it at now? And other things we talked about, have they improved the UI? And I think that would
Yeah,
be a good conversation to
that's one
have.
of the cool parts about doing the podcast, because that's like I said earlier, that's how I look at things in the time frame of the podcast, and I think back to the conversations we had before, and then it's
Yeah,
cool to like see how kind of close we were, and see how it plays out
yeah,
down the road, because you actually get the answer later to how things are going to work out. But I'm still definitely going to follow along with it, because I mean, honestly, it's such a rarity to have a game that's this polished, that's an extraction shooter, that's this
yeah.
unique, this fleshed out. Like, they just don't come along every day.
I know, isn't it
So,
a delight, even if you're not, just from a gamer's point of view,
oh
like
yeah,
actually go, like, look at this, look at Embark, guys, to other studios, look at how it can be done. Whatever game you're making, well, just do a lot of the things that they're doing, not everything, they're not perfect, but um, I
yeah.
haven't really been keeping an eye on the chat today, Crash, if there's been any questions or stuff in there to sort of,
No,
um,
they've actually been mainly talking loadouts, for the game, and which guns and
okay,
stuff are the best and stuff like that. Um,
nice.
but yeah, if you guys do um, have any questions, you can hit us up. But what do
Big
you
fries there.
wh-
Hey, Big Fry.
oh, what's up, Fry? What's your thoughts on moving forward? Like, what amount of post launch content do you expect, and what do you see happening for post-launch content seasons? You think there'll be a lot of maps or just
Yeah.
guns, or how do you think that'll play out?
I definitely think there'll be quite a lot of maps coming in the future. Um, and that's pure speculation from my end. And because the scope, the game's set in the Rust Belt at the moment, so there's definitely scope down the track to have a second location that you could go to, and then maybe another part of Europe or wherever, because the game is set in this sort of post-apocalyptic world, right? So that could be anywhere around the globe, and so we could have a different version of the Rust Belt somewhere else that you can go to. And this whole thing where they have voluntary wipes, where you send your raider off on an expedition, they could easily convert that into an actual sort of gameplay part where you go, actually, I'm going to go off to a new area and play with a character that gets wiped. And so the voluntary wipe system could change over time.
Yeah.
Um, I think probably early on, like with whatever it is going to be, 4 maps. Oh, it sounds like 4, maybe 5 maps to start with. Probably actually giving us some more quality of life stuff early on would be good, like the things you were kind of talking about before. I think players would probably benefit from that a lot versus just adding one map after another.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Big Frost says, how did you get that smooth accent, Rockhound? You'll have to ask my mum and my dad. Well, only my mum now because Dad's not around anymore, but
It's just
they might have
genetic, I
had something to
guess.
do with it. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
little
so that's
self-conscious about it, but trying to
from the
get through
same
this.
school as Russell Crowe, but the voice isn't quite as deep as that.
They probably did it in post. It's probably not actually. Probably not actually that deep. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it'll be cool to see what they do post launch content. Everything's free, right? There's no premium. There'll just probably be a premium battle pass. How are they doing microtransactions? Do you
Yeah, it's
know?
a great question. It's going to be a mixture. So I think they have said that so the Raider decks is that's deck DECK with my accent.
How
Yeah.
about that
So
accent
that
now, Fry?
yeah yeah yeah, it's one of the words we struggle with. Deck, and the other one is flashlight. Right, that one
Yeah,
gets marginal as well.
you got to be careful.
Yeah. So the Raider decks are kind of their battle pass. They've said that quite a lot of those will be free, but they may introduce premium ones down the track as well. My guess is probably they will always keep a free one, but they might then have like a top tier one that they add on if you want to pay some extra. And with a 10-year time frame in mind for them, at some point they're going to have something that you pay extra for just beyond cosmetics, I would say.
That yeah, that's kind of the status quo. It's just one of those things I've come to terms with. I hate battle passes, but they're just everywhere now, and that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I need to quit complaining. But I
Yeah,
hate.
I think I was going to say I think Embark are well aware of people's views on like paying for a premium game and then like 2 months later suddenly you've just got to pay for every battle pass. I don't think they would see that as being an option. I think that would be too in your face to a lot of players.
Yeah. No, the thing with battle passes that always rubbed me the wrong way is like you buy it and then you still have to unlock it. And it's like I paid for it. Like let me have it. But I get why they do it, and like the
Yeah.
dopamine of getting through it and unlocking stuff and the challenges and things like that. But it's like if I paid for it, like give it to me. That that's what I always complain about. But that's a boomer argument, I guess, and I'll quit complaining about it. That's just the way it is now.
Oh, you need something to progress with in the game, right?
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
that's why I really like what they did with wipes, and that's why I've I've been happy to see games handling that different, because if you go back like again on the timeline of this show, one of the things that I always griped about with extraction shooters is like you get to the end and it's like, okay, what do I do? Like what do I here for? Like why am I going out into the world again when I
Yeah.
have everything completed? And I thought it was kind of weird how Tarkov was like, they delete all your progress and that makes it fun and you do the same thing over again. And I always thought that was weird, but I see why people do that because, or got excited for it, because the early wipe Tarkov was always fun when people had like trash
Yeah.
guns and stuff. But one of the reasons like I didn't enjoy that as much, because I got really tired doing the same quest over and over again in Tarkov. Like I can only go get the pocket watch so many times, dude. Like I don't ever
Yeah.
want to go there again. And I feel like the wipes and the hype around wipes was like almost an unintended mechanic of how they had to develop the game. Like it wasn't initially supposed to be like that, but then people got really
Hmm.
excited for him. So I'm
Yep.
happy to see extraction shooters getting past that and figuring out
Yeah.
ways, like designed ways to deal with that, actually
Yeah.
well thought out ways, and like seeing
Yeah.
that with our creator system is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we should be really supportive of it. You know, even if it's clunky to start off with, it's a new path, and I think good feedback from the community will make a big difference to it. I think there's two things here. One is that I think they will add quite a lot of new quests in as new content, like you were asking before about what new content will be. If you do have that wipe and come back, probably you'll find some of the quests have changed, which will give it a bit of variety. But the other thing is they're really noticing or taking care of those players who can only jump in for 2 or 3 hours a week and they just want to progress through and they want to keep progressing. Well, wipes just knock those guys on the head every time, right? Because they only get a quarter or a third of the way through and suddenly they're back to zero again. So this system really allows for those slow progressors to actually enjoy the game at their own pace and not have it out of their control uh, to empty their stash. I think that is fantastic. As long as they can also at the same time get the majority of people who have massive stashes to give it up. The carrot has to be big enough. So
Yep.
it's going to be interesting to see how well it works.
No, I really like it, and that's one of the things that it's been a month or two ago that I wished Arena Breakout would do, because there's no wipes in that either. And how they kind of deal with it is they have
Right.
like almost uh income based matchmaking where they have normal mode with a gear cap, so you have to be under $300,000 of gear, and then there's a middle ground that's a lockdown, and then forbidden is you can have over $1 million worth of gear on you when you go in.
Right.
So that's kind of how, like, if you want to jump into it, you don't have to worry about the chads because you can play normal and they can't have all the
Yeah.
gear and everything
Right.
like that. So it's
Okay.
really
And
cool.
step for those guys, that are over the million down the track, like, do they just what's the end game for
So
them?
then that turns out, for me, why I like to play it is the ranked mode. So like there's a rank to chase every season. So you can try to get to a legend rank, and then you can add stars to your rank. So you can try to get like 50-star legend. So you get points when you get up to like legend, you have to kill other operators to not lose points. So when you go
Right.
in, like it's PvP,
Okay.
like you're
The
going in
pressure
to kill
comes on.
people.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so I
Yeah.
that and I as PvP, like it's centered around that. I love having a ranked
Mhm.
mode because I get really irritated at quests sometimes, especially difficult ones, because they make me play. Like if I only have a couple hours to play and I'm working on a quest I don't enjoy, I hate how it makes me play the game in a way I don't want to play it.
Yeah.
Um,
I get it.
but having
And
a ranked mode, it's like I'm going into to kill other players, take their loot, and get out, and then you rank up for that. And if you don't do that, you go down. So
yeah, right. And Embark have sort of talked about how they don't want to have, say, quests, for example, that force you into PvP combat. Like you have to
mhm.
do. So that yeah, that's certainly a path they've chosen. I mean, some people maybe would prefer that, but they like the idea of people playing the game in the way they want to. And Arc Raiders definitely has a sandbox kind of feel to it that you can play the game the way you want to. Like if you watch a lot of the videos out there now from the service land, there's people running around with the recorder playing it and just goofing around, right?
Yeah,
And and then there's some hardcore PvP action going on as well.
yeah.
Gives people options,
But
but they're
but
not forced down a particular path.
but to what you said, where I think Arc Raiders is ahead of Arena Breakout in this, is that voluntary wipe system, because like you said, that's a very real question. So if you're playing Forbidden all the time and you have 100 million Cohen, which is the in-game currency, like what are you
Mhm.
doing? And so I would love to see something like a voluntary wipe where maybe it costs, like I've gotten killed by players. When you get killed, you can see like their stash value. The other day I was playing solos, or streaming, and I got killed by someone with 1 billion Cohen. I had never seen that before. That's insane. It's like, what does that person do? So I think it'd be really
Right.
cool if you had something that just cost like 1 billion Cohen, like a really cool skin that was like super unique that you could see in game. Like, oh, that's a real one right there. Like if you come
Yeah.
across it, something like our creators has, where you can get some really cool gear that's perpetual that you always keep. That cost, that makes you wipe your stuff, because I agree they're gonna have to do something like that.
And something similar along those lines, but maybe with a bit more of a community spirit, is a few of us have talked about what if it was opening up a new map? So if you get enough raiders to give up their stash, they're actually or
That'd be
cross the
cool.
line and a new map opens up, or even that could be even incorporated into gameplay somehow. Like I talked about before, if we go beyond the Rust Belt and can play in other areas, maybe the voluntary wipe system could be incorporated into that sort of the Expeditions 2.0 version.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Up,
That'd be pretty cool, I think.
yeah, up the ante a little bit. Do some like community challenges. I thought that was really cool. With
Yep.
Helldivers would always do those like big community challenges where everybody, the whole player base would like work together to do that. That'd be cool to entice people to wipe
Yeah,
that
and
stuff.
they did do that previously. I don't know if I can talk about that one too much because it might be under NDA as far as the playtest goes. But there were community events in the past, and I think people are interested to know if they'll add more of those. So
Cool. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that
but
that stuff's all neat. That adds to that. Arena Breakout's gonna have to do something because I'm coming across players that have like they're never gonna have to worry about money ever again. So I can't imagine that being super fun. But I do like how it is to where you can take breaks from the game and come back, or even if you're starting out, if you have some good runs and get enough money, you can run the best gear. Like you don't have to unlock it. I always felt like in Tarkov, the first couple weeks after a wipe, if you didn't know life it, like you're already hosed because people
yeah,
would already have
yeah,
max traders
yeah,
and the best gear, and you're
yeah,
just
yeah.
fodder.
And that's just not fun, right? For
No,
someone
it's
who wants
not.
to, think of that person who just wants to sit down on a Saturday afternoon for 3 hours and play the game. And if those guys just don't get that option to enjoy it because of that, and
The other
that needs to
thing,
change.
that was really cool, and I apologize to people who don't know our creators if you're here for, or excuse me, who don't know Arena Breakout because I keep comparing it. That's just the game I've been playing the most. But and it's also another extraction shooter. I'm kind of finding myself enjoying comparing the two differences. Um, is how I really liked how our creators did like the squad size matchmaking kind of. So if you were a solo player, it prioritized matching with other solos. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'd like
And
to see them add duos as well. I think if the player base is big enough, it should just be, if you're solo 99% of the time, you see solos with a little bit of flexibility to make up the rounds. That they need to add the same for duos as well, because a lot of
yeah,
people like playing with a buddy only, and then the trios works pretty well already.
that's such a great way to do it because Arena Breakout has a solo mode, but it's not a big enough player base of solo players to keep it going. So it rotates maps. It'll just rotate through a couple maps. Will be like limited time. So that's such a cool way to solve that is throw everybody in the pool and prioritize similar sized parties. But if you can't, you can't. You kind of go into that
Yeah.
understanding of, you know, I might come across a trio
Mhm.
as a solo, but
Yeah,
probably
adds a bit of
won't. I like
tension,
that.
right?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah, and
that's
I will say from what I've seen from a lot of gameplay, I get the feeling that a lot of solo players, it is maybe a little bit more cooperative, and they're reaching out to try and be friendly a little more often than I think the trios. Probably a lot of the time, it's just pretty
yeah,
much straight PvP.
yep.
The
ABI
occasion of that, if they stumble across someone by themselves, they might take them on and feel sorry for
100%.
them.
Yeah, yeah. But ABI is yeah, you got a lot more confidence when you're in a trio and you just want to cause chaos. Um, but Arena Breakout sorely needs the proximity chat. I love that in games because man, you get some of the coolest moments. Like if you can actually talk to somebody and work that out, or even add the layer of like worrying about betrayals. Like that happens
Yeah,
sometimes, and
yeah.
it adds such a human element to the game that's like really cool. And I miss having that. I did have some funny proximity chat moments when I knew they were coming in to kill me, and I told them what I thought about them. I let them know. So
Yeah, and I know Virgil Watkins, the design director. He comes from a lot of sandbox sort of DayZ type background, and from what I've heard, he definitely likes adding that element in for people to have those moments of betrayal and teaming up and all
yeah,
that stuff. Yeah,
lifelong friendships can be formed, man. I tell you, find the
for
right
now.
person and start gaming together, and it's cool. It's neat. So I hope that comes to other games because yeah, proximity chat's really cool.
Yeah, it's been really enjoyable the moments I've had it in the game. I'm really pleased they put proximity chat in the game. It's great.
Yep, for sure. But is there anything else that you want to add? We covered everything, and before we get to that, I just want to say thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for your time. I like I said, I didn't enjoy it as much. There's 100% chance I'm going to keep following the game, keep up with it, and I'm going to for sure give it another chance. But I appreciate you doing our viewers and listeners a service by coming on and giving an educated perspective on the game that I was not able to provide. So I'm super thankful that you came on the show, because we have a lot of listeners and viewers that are fans of the game. So I wanted to get you on so they could actually hear from somebody that knew what was up as
Thank
to
you. I
how things
really,
were. So I
really
appreciate it.
appreciate it. It's nice to come and talk about the game, and we're only a week away from it launching. And I started following this game in 2019, so this has been quite a long road,
It's kind of
and
surreal, isn't
it's
it, to be this close?
super
Probably
exciting to think we're actually going to be able to play it in just over a week's time, and play it every day. And yeah,
much as you want.
it's
Yeah.
very exciting.
What can people expect? Like, what's your kind of content plan moving forward that people can expect to see as the game launches?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a huge amount of interest from content creators right now. My focus will definitely be leaning towards the lore side of things. So I'll probably do a bit of general coverage like I've been doing, but I know I just made a lore video about Art Creators recently that's had a super positive response. So I want to continue down that path. I enjoy the narrative stuff myself. I think the world they've created and the storyline that looks like it's going to run through it is really exciting. So yeah, a lot of lore content, Easter eggs, of course. We'll be doing some Easter egg hunting in there. A few of us might have already spotted some stuff that we hadn't noticed before, and from Tech Test 2 images. So we're going to be jumping back in to look for that at the game's launch. So yeah, Easter eggs, lore, and a bit of general stuff around the game as well, and the odd gameplay video if we have some good rounds.
Heck yeah. And you'll be streaming on Twitch as well?
Yeah, Twitch. I'm trying to get it so I can do multi-streaming. We're working on getting that set up properly. So hopefully Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Yeah.
Ah, yes. Streaming technical issues, my favorite. I especially love, if you guys have seen my stuff, I especially love audio issues. I despise audio and routing it and mixing it, EQing it. Audio is the bane of my existence.
Yeah, it does
I
happen.
get through it. I get through it.
So,
But anyway, yeah. So
thanks so much for having me, and I really appreciate it. And to all the viewers, thanks for coming along and watching. And everybody enjoy the rest of their day. And kia kaha, stay strong.
That's it, man. Yep. Thank you so much, guys. Please follow Rockhound. All his stuff is everywhere. In all the show notes, the descriptions. Click those links. Check him out. Especially if you're an Arc Raiders fan, you won't regret it. I'm gonna step away just a second and say bye to him, and then I'll be back to cover the last two topics of the day. So hang tight, guys. All right, guys, I'm back. And guess what? So my giant production team behind the glass over here did not set up. They're in big trouble. They didn't set up a second they didn't set up a second overlay for just me. So you're stuck with this, and they're in big trouble. They're in big trouble. We'll the production team is always a massive issue around here, and I do the best I can. I also yeah, so now yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I just realized that there wasn't an overlay for that, so that's kind of a bit of a bummer. And also I used to have like I used to have a super sick standby screen, but on this PC I lost the hard drive and it lost all those scenes and I had to rebuild them, and I don't have my really cool BRB screen. So the production team, yeah, they're fired. We're gonna get them out of here, and it's not great, but what we're gonna move on to, it's not gonna be as good because it's just me, and I apologize for that, but I'm gonna do the best I can. But before we get into it really quickly, if you guys want to support the show, you can hit the like. You can share it around. If you're an audio listener, you can hit those 5-star reviews on Apple, Spotify. That helps us quite a bit. There's a lot of free ways to do it. I really, really, really appreciate it. And if you guys are new here from Rockhound's community, welcome to the shit show, because that's what this is. But we have a good time, so we're super glad to have you. Again, appreciate Rockhound coming on and lending his expertise, because I didn't have much with that game, and I knew that some of you guys wanted to check it out. So hopefully you got some good information out of that. I will be checking the game out again, and hopefully Rockhound will grace us with his presence again and fill us in on what's going on, because it's awesome to have that knowledge. And I really enjoy, man, I learned a lot. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned something as well. But the next thing I wanted to get into, and I'm gonna get pretty excited about this, is we're starting to see some stuff with Battlefield 6. And I think Battlefield is one of the most leaked IPs out there. So we're starting to hear some leaks about season 1. So we're gonna get into it. There is a massive rumor that I'm gonna get into about the battle royale for this game is allegedly going to come out in 5 days, guys. So at the time of recording this, if you're listening to it, it might be even more imminent, and we might have more teasers by then. But as of October 23rd, there's some pretty substantial evidence that it's going to happen. You guys can see, if you're watching, the key art kind of looks a little battle royale on the bottom, with the choppers, the drop-in choppers flying over from the leak gameplay we've seen. And this is obviously the California map with the palm trees. And all that stuff going on, that where the battle royale is going to take place. So I'm really excited about that. And then I just found out Darkivion in my Discord, dude, guys, Bush, you're here too. There's going to be an S&D. It's going to be more like team gunfight, but there's going to be a round-based one life mode coming in season 1 in 5 days. So dude, I'm so excited about everything coming into Battlefield with this season, because if you guys are also new here, I mention S&D or bomb modes every single episode without fail, because I enjoy them a lot. Along with extraction shooters, I love playing like S&D, CSGO, Rainbow Six type game modes with my friends. Have a little bourbon, maybe a Stogue, getting settled in for some competitive matches. I do enjoy it. All the clutch moments, the comebacks, all that stuff's great. So that's allegedly going to be coming. But let's talk about the BR that's happening in Battlefield 6 really quickly, which I think is also going to be big. Warzone is kind of down right now. A lot of creators. One of the things that makes me also believe this, before I get into it, let's just take the Crash talking out of his ass take here real quick, because again, that's the best part of having a podcast. I could do that. I have seen, I don't know if it's related or not, I assume it is related. I've seen a lot of Warzone creators, professional Warzone players, say this is their last year on Warzone, saying goodbye to Warzone. And a lot of them have been playing multiplayer Battlefield in the lead up to October 28th. So I think, guessing, again, total Crash, total my observations, I'm guessing, I think, allegedly, potentially, that they've seen some stuff. I think there's also been some videos around of the new season, some of the new modes and stuff like that. I think top Warzone creators have been shown stuff about the BR that's coming out based on the way they're acting. I would feel like, if you're going to quit your main game, you'd probably want a real reason, like a substantial in your hand reason of why that's going to happen. So the reason that it's pretty sure it's coming 28th, I originally thought it was going to come in the next portion, we know, or mid-November. The second phase of season 1 is going to come out. I thought that's when it was going to happen, because the Eastwood map, which looks very much like the Southern California Warzone map, was at the same time. So that's when I thought that was going to happen, was on the next one. But Insider Gaming, based off of what Modern Warzone tweeted, that there is actually code that shows it unlocking on October 28th. So it's going to, the other thing that they don't know about, they've been reporting, Insider Gaming has been reporting that it's going to be free to play, but they're not 100% sure on that, but it really sounds like it is. And I'm going to show you guys what's up here in just a second. I don't know what to think on the free to play. On one hand, I'm just going to argue with myself, since I'm soloing it today. I'll just argue with myself. On one hand, free to play is great, right? Like, you have that pathway to bring new people into the space. You have new people to bring them into Battlefield, right? like, oh, it's a free to play BR. All my buddies are playing it. I'm gonna hop in. Oh wait, man, this tank is pretty cool. This destruction is pretty cool. These guns are pretty fun to play with. Like, I kind of like the immersion here. I might buy the main game and start playing some breakthrough, playing some conquest, you know, to unlock guns and stuff. It has a shot of really casting a wide net and funneling players to the multiplayer modes that Battlefield fans love. So there's that. Other side, cheaters, right? If it's free to play and it's really popular, there's a ton of people playing it, that is a gold mine for cheat developers. Big player base means potential customers, right? It's free to play. You get banned, you can get another account. So really worried about the cheating aspect of it, to be honest with you, over on that stuff. So we'll see how that plays out for sure, but I'm worried about that. So it remains to be seen if it's free to play or not. I kind of, man, I almost wish it wasn't, just for the to cut down on cheaters just a little bit. I feel like cheating is like something you're never ever going to get rid of, but the more hurdles you can put in its way, you can kind of maybe potentially minimize it. But why folks are so sure that it's going to happen is there is some code that data miners found that Tom Henderson also confirmed that Granite is the project name, like the prototype name for the BR, Project Granite. So you guys can see that when the download is available, it goes from it's free, false to downloadable, true. I guess it's free is false, so it might not be free. So maybe that's in the code right there. It says false, but the download date and the playable start date is October 28th within this code that was allegedly found in the game. This is was retweeted by Modern Warzone, but this Twitter handle, if you want to see it for yourselves, is at YourAkhineo, and that's YOURAKHINEO. So you can see it on there if you want to see the actual image of the code. If you don't believe me, but that just kind of makes it sound like that's a thing. And I had originally thought California Resistance is what the second one's called, with the new map, Eastwood, and the new mode Sabotage, which is going to be the 18th November. You guys know that there's going to be like 3 phases to season 1. I thought it made more sense to launch it then, but the code, the reports, a lot of people are saying the 28th, we could be playing the BR in like 5 days. And to be honest, if I'm just throwing my own spin on this thing, man, I've kind of been away from battle royales for a while, to where they start to sound fun again. Like I was even talking about arena breakout and stuff, and like how I like how fast you can get into a match. But what's even nicer about BRs in that aspect is like you just queue up again. Like you guys get wiped and you just queue up again and you just go. And you fight with what you find on the map. So that's really cool. And again, this one is going to be interesting because if you guys remember, the ring of fire that closes in is insta death. Like it's different. There's going to be loadouts you can find. There is not another BR that I can think of that has destruction like this. So again, as someone who really enjoyed Firestorm, I can't tell you how satisfying it is when you have a camper in a house and you can just get rid of the house. It's so cool. But you just blow up the house. It's not a problem. So it's cool to it's cool to have that. It's like a unique spin on BR. So I know a lot of people are fatigued on BRs, but I wonder, I just kind of feel like maybe it's been so long since we've all been in one that we might have been able to come full circle and like enjoy it again. So it's highly likely the BR is going to be on the 28th, which will make next week's episode pretty awesome. The other thing that Darkivion in my Discord alluded to and tagged me in, this new mode, I thought Sabotage is coming in in November 18th sounded like a bomb mode, but dude, on 28th, the strike point mode, there is a content creator, Futives, really big content creator, put gameplay out of it, and it is like my perfect mode. I would take maybe 2 objective points and like a start defuse. But what it essentially more is like, it looks like a 4v4 team gunfight from Call of Duty, except you can pick out your stuff. So essentially, it's 4v4, smaller maps. There's a flag in the middle that unlocks, but it is 1 life mode. and round based. So the first 1 to 6 wins. And there's already some of this like gameplay out and about, which is like, dude, I'm gonna be all over this, man. I love this type of stuff. And it's almost like if people are like, Crash, why do you talk about bomb modes all the time? Because like for the same reason, like you enjoy like the final circle of a battle royale that gets your heart pumping. It's like, dude, what if you when you pull off a 1v3 or 1v4 even or something like that, like every round is like a final circle because it's one life, and the enemies are right there. So I'm very, very, very excited to play this mode. I hope there's a bunch of maps on it. I'd worry about that, but maybe even if it's just on a couple maps, maybe we can take it into Portal and place it on some of the other maps. Might work out. But essentially what happens, 4v4, you pick your loadout, which I'm going to get to in just a second. I'm worried about it. There's a flag in the middle, so you can start out trying to get kills. And then after so long, if there's kind of a stalemate, there pops a flag in the middle that you have to get on to capture it. I'm guessing there's tiebreaker scenarios. So like if if it's like 3v1 and nobody gets on the flag, the team with 3 would win, I would think. So it's going to push people to the end to finish it out to be able to get on the point. So that's going to be a really cool way and lead to a ton of fun times and some tense moments, and could be super, super cool. So the thing I'm worried about is 3D spotting in Battlefield could make this really strong. I worry, and I'm probably going to be part of it, because if you guys watched any of my streams, if you're OGs, watch any of my streams of Modern Warfare 2 Search and Destroy, dude, the recon drone was so OP. But if you guys, for those of you playing at home, the recon class has a drone on them, and it appears from this gameplay that you can just whip it out and use it at the start of every round. So it's going to be a Midwest drone fest out there. So I would really like to see this, and maybe again, that's where Portal comes in. If the modes aren't quite like you want them to, maybe you can make those changes. Maybe you can make those changes in Portal and be able to do that to where you can like shut off certain things. Like you can limit drones or make it to where you can't have drones, or even I think it would be cool if you if there was a limit on the number of classes you can have, and maybe there is. Maybe you can only have one recon person, and then that will make it not so bad. But needless to say, I am incredibly excited for that game mode, and we'll be playing a lot of it. And yeah, I love these type of modes, and we're going to be hitting it up. The other thing, there is via Torbus XD, friend of the channel, he was able to show all of the skins and stuff, and as you guys could expect, there is some controversy out there within the Battlefield community. I know, hopefully if you're listening to this in your car, you didn't run off the road. Controversy within the Battlefield community, that never happens, right? There are some brighter colored skins in the Battle Pass, and if you guys follow along at all, people get pretty fired up about it. Okay, like people get really, really triggered one way or the other about brightly colored skins. The one I have on the screen before you is a bright blue skin for the assault class, and it's got like a monster face on the balaclava over the soldier's face, and it's like a bright blue. And again, this is via Torbus XD, so he's a Battlefield content creator, and he showcases all these on his YouTube channel as well. There's some other ones with like they're not as crazy, with like a red beret on them and stuff. But man, I have such a hard time figuring out where I fit within this debate. Maybe I just don't. Maybe I just don't care enough. There's some brightly colored skins, and I said this was going to happen. I really wish I could have looked up some of the old episodes and had time to do that where I said this, but I said before launch, there are certain things that are just gone, that are never coming back to the franchises that we like and love. Server browser, that was never going to happen. Like I said that before launch, they're never going to do that. They prefer their matchmaking system. You can go into the conspiracy theories on why they want to be able to pick who plays with who, but we're not doing that today. And one of the other things is I said this was going to devolve into is one of the minuses, in my opinion, of getting away from premium. Premium was so nice because even though it did cost money, you knew what you're going to get. You knew every season I'm getting 4 new big maps, or 3 or 4, even 5, some of the older DLCs, and you knew that. This one, where all the post-launch content is free to play, they have to make money, and it switches to skins, and the skins always get wild. So I don't know if you were surprised that this happened, you need to, I don't know what you need to do. You need to read a book. Like, if you were surprised that this was going to happen, the writing was on the wall here. Like, if it's EA, they're going to have to make money off skins. There's going to be some crazy ones. And I think for all intents and purposes, as bad as this could have been, it could be worse. It might get worse, but it could be way crazier. And I'm speaking from the standpoint of an old head that I also like my skins to be like a little bit more grounded, a little bit more, time appropriate and soldier appropriate. And, this is not something that you're going to wear. I'm not trying to say, and again, this always makes me have to explain myself, that I understand that Battlefield is not, and nor never will be, a military simulator. It's never going to be a mil sim. That's not what it is. What it is an arcade shooter. And I will argue with you that Battlefield 1 was probably one of the most immersive arcade shooters like we ever had. And that was all like really good. It was because of really good audio, good graphics and stuff like that. But also all the soldiers were dressed appropriately for the factions they were fighting for. And it just helps you get like immersed. And the instant that you start having like crazy looking skins running around and stuff like that, you're not going to be immersed anymore. It can still be a really fun game, but it's just going to be like, oh yeah, like this is, yeah, here they are. The Zoomers are back with their crazy skins. So take that for what you will, but just don't be surprised when you get bright colored skins in Battlefield, because it's happening. There's some bright blue ones, there's some red ones and things like that. It's just something I already came to terms with, and it doesn't make me mad because the game is still good. It's not going to break the game for me. And it just was something that I already had in my head was going to happen. I get why people are upset. I get why people are upset that people are upset, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's just not that big a deal for me. And it could have been seen. Like, you could see this coming like miles away. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, but there are some wild skins. People are upset about it. I don't really know where I stand. It doesn't break the game. Let's just say this. It doesn't break the game for me. It doesn't make me mad, but I really wish we didn't have to have it. There, I'll say that. Is that my political answer of, making both sides happy? Rockhound has a great question. I will, since I'm by myself, I will probably read and rely on chat just a little bit more. Rockhound asks, do you think they've done enough with providing some skins that look like what future soldiers might wear in addition to these brighter ones? Yeah, I think they have. Like, if you look at the other ones on the screen, for I don't know, I think this is the NATO faction. If you look at it, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for those of you playing at home, 7 skins on the soldier at the time, and only one of them is bright blue. The rest of them are much more futuristic, grounded looking. If you look at the battle pass, I mean, again, these, the hood on the engineer class is like kind of wild that he's showing off here, and there's some little orange accents, but man, it's just not that crazy. And out of the 10 skins that are on the screen, only one of them is like a little wild. So the ratio is there. Now, it could get crazier in the future, 100%, and like it gets that way. Like Call of Duty started that way, right? Like back in the day, you'd have like one crazy skin, but everybody wanted it to meme around the map, like that. So they will probably more than likely be the most popular ones, but are they going to go like whole hog into that? We really don't know. So are they going to, see the money that they made and have to do more of that? Or are they going to keep it in the ratio it is now? Because I think the ratio it is now is pretty appropriate. That's a great point. Is like all but a couple of the skins are like really grounded. They look like futuristic soldiers or even modern soldiers, and they look like camouflage and what, something could actually wear. So far you gotta, if you're like if you're more of like a milsim type liking person, or if you know, if you just want your game to stay grounded, and I would even argue just like visually and world and like visually consistent as is the easiest way to put it. If you're a fan, I don't even want to say a milsim fan because that's not what it is. And they get a bad rap because anytime you say this and you have this take where you want grounded skin, just like go play Arma, go play Tarko, go play insert milsim game here. And it's like, I don't want to play a milsim. I want to play an arcade shooter that's visually consistent. You know what I mean? Like that, it's just, it's not that hard. And it's not that serious. So I think so far, if you're in that camp, some of these skins were to be expected, and so far the ratio isn't too bad. But we'll see how she plays out. So next week's episode could be pretty fun, especially if that BR drops. It will be a good time. But essentially that's what's up. Season 1 is right around the corner. We'll be talking about it next week. Let me take a look at the calendar really quickly. Yeah, it comes out on the Tuesday and we'll have a show on Thursday. So that'll work out great. We'll see you guys next week for that. That'll be cool. Hopefully Buff and Blue will be back so you guys don't have to listen to me drone on and on. But the last thing I wanted to hit really quickly before we called it a day was there's some new stuff coming out with Arena Breakout Infinite. You guys heard me allude to that. That is like my favorite game to play right now, with a little bit of Battlefield sprinkled in for funsies. There's a new event coming that's again a little wild, but I just thought I would talk about it since it's like a game that we cover quite a bit around here. I've actually had some feedback of people saying that they heard about it from the podcast and played it and really enjoyed it. But it is really cool because I will say overall, if you haven't played Arena Breakout since they removed the pay to win stuff, this is a free game that you can easily experience everything for free in the game without spending a penny. And they always have a lot of events. There's a lot of content. Again, as we looked up, that's probably because they have 1,600 employees. That helps out a little bit, but there's always stuff going on in the game and you can experience all of it free, even down to the secure container. The biggest secure container you have to unlock with quests. You can't buy it. So you can't even buy the biggest, best secure container. You have to earn it. And as you're earning it, you unlock bigger ones on the way. So it's like, then that's really the only thing that you can pay extra for. So you can't buy Cohen in the game anymore. The red ammo, the thermals, and all that stuff has been taken off the market. You have to craft it. There's like you have to wait a long time to craft it. So they've just done a ton of really good balancing stuff. They need to balance some guns. The HK is a little strong, stuff like that. But anyway, what's happening is there is a fall fest coming along, Mysterious Pumpkin Night event. So I'm hoping, it doesn't really say in here, but it makes me think there's going to be some night raids. Like, I hope so. I hope there's like some of these night looking raids would be really cool in the game. But anytime they do an event, if you log in, you get a ton of money, you get a ton of free stuff, you get a ton of weapon caches and armor bundles and stuff like that just for logging in. There's probably going to be some new quests and stuff like that. And there's an in-game item. So each time you new evolvable item, there's a pumpkin evolution is here. Challenge yourself an extraction streak. So every raid is an investment. If you bring pumpkins with you into lockdown or forbidden, each time you successfully extract, the pumpkins will evolve and their value multiplies. It was really cool. Shuttle pumpkins back and forth in the dark zone to nurture rare pumpkins or get a good price for them during the holidays so you can sell them. So it's kind of cool. It's like you take these in with you and you can lose them, but if you get out with them, they become more valuable. So it's like a kind of push your luck kind of thing, which is pretty cool. There's new points and stuff that you can get decorative furniture in the trophy room. So if you guys didn't know, with this latest season coming to Steam, they added like a hideout that you can add furniture to, customize crafts. You can display weapons, display dog tags, craft items, intelligence center for increased stats and all that kind of stuff. But then there's also Midnight Pumpkin Seed special blends that you can find around the map and play with those. So starting at UTC midnight on the 24th, this is out and about for people to play. So it's pretty cool. I really like the idea of like a loot item that you take in and get out to like make it more valuable. I think that's pretty cool. It ups the ante quite a bit on the raids. So anyway, guys, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. It's getting kind of late on the show. But yeah, I just wanted to cover all that stuff with you guys and go over it. I think that's it. I'm sorry you guys had to deal with just me for the last half of the episode because the first half with Rockhound was so awesome. So again, please follow his stuff. Thank you so much to him for coming on the show and lending his expertise. Hopefully he can come back as the game continues to evolve and we can kind of follow along on this podcast with our creators. Thank you to all the new folks from his community that came by. Really, really, really appreciate that. And as always, thank you so much to all the viewers and listeners. We appreciate you guys. It's always been growing little by little, and that's because you guys tell your friends, and I am very thankful. You all are a blessing to the show, especially if you've made it this far. I really, really, really appreciate you guys. So with that, let's see what happens. Next week is a big O week, man. Next week is a big O week, and you can find us right back here at the same time, the same place, and we'll cover all that stuff. It'll be great. I also will have another show next week. I'll have another show next week with Big Fry. I'm doing that podcast with him too, called the Push to Talk podcast. We'll have another episode out next week early for his Patreon subscribers, and then everybody will see it on Friday. So that'll be pretty cool. We'll check it out then. Again, thank you guys. I would love to see you next week. Shout out to Buff and Blue. Hope those guys are back with me next week because they make it a lot more pleasant. And again, thank you to Rockhound. Guys, we'll see you next week.